Hey guys, RanterInShades here, exercise my first amendment rights vlog style. Now, the topic of this video is something that I wanted to talk about in my video about classic rock elitists, but I just didn't have enough time to talk about it because if I went on for much longer, the audio would be out of sync with the video and I'd just be totally fucked up. But I just decided anyway that it would be better off if I made a separate video since they're not as related. I'm going to be talking today about classic rock radio. Now, classic rock radio, in my opinion, it's some of the most predictable shit you'll ever come across. It doesn't even matter which classic rock station you're listening to, because you know you're going to be hearing the same bands all the time. Like, here's an example. I forget what this station is called, but last summer I was working stockroom at the company that my mom was working at, which is called Syncor. I'm not sure what the company sells. I know it has something to do with like computers, computer batteries, direct current, something like that. It doesn't matter. I was working stockroom and there was a classic rock station. It was streaming online, a satellite station in San Francisco. So yeah, working in Boston and having radio stream from San Francisco, that's weird enough. But it was a classic rock station. Now, again, you hear the same bands all the time, and like the same 3 songs from the same bands. Like, think of any band, any classic rock band, and then think of like their 3 most popular songs. For example, a band I don't talk about in the last video, Van Halen, for just an example. What are Van Halen's 3 most popular songs? I remember hearing Eruption leading into their version of You Really Got Me, Panama, and Running with the Devil. I think maybe Jump also, but I'm not sure. I don't exactly remember. So there's one example. What about Aerosmith? Okay, Dream On, Walk This Way, Sweet Emotion. Case closed. You see how predictable this is? It's predictable as hell. Classic rock radio gets boring that way when you know what's going to come on. They're like, we're going to play some Guns N' Roses right now. Alright, are you going to play anything besides Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child of Mine, or Paradise City? Like, are you going to play anything else from Appetite for Destruction, or Use Your Illusion 1 or 2, or even from Lies? Are you going to play anything from Lies? So yeah, it's that predictable. You know what you're going to be hearing, nothing but the hits from the same bands. Like, they don't even go obscure at all and look at any other bands from, like, the 70s, 80s. They don't look at any other bands from the era, the lesser-known bands, or bands that had, you know, some minor hits. Like, you wouldn't expect to hear Firehouse on that station at all, even though they sound like they'd be a pretty good fit. You don't even hear really anything from the 90s. But this station in particular, they did actually play Soundgarden. I did hear Soundgarden on that station, but remember, it's only hits, so they're gonna play nothing but fucking Black Hole Sun, the only song of Soundgarden's that anybody gives a shit about. What is stopping these stations from playing anything from Louder Than Love or Bad Motorfinger? What's stopping them? I also heard Red Hot Chili Peppers on this station, actually, which was weird, because I don't really consider Red Hot Chili Peppers to be part of the classic rock scene. I think they're an awesome band, but classic rock? I do think that one day we're going to start referring to them as a classic rock band. Years down the road, we're going to start referring to them as such. I remember hearing Californication, Scar Tissue, and I think Under the Bridge also. Just the hits. The only songs anybody cares about. We're not even going to think of playing, you know, my favorite song by The Who, which is Water. A, because it's a long song, and B, because it's not one of their well-known hits, so who would give a shit? And speaking of long songs, you better believe they played Cashmere in its entirety. No radio edits. Why? Do they have any idea how boring that song is? I was straight up sleepy whenever that song came on. It did come on multiple times. Just these stations just don't believe in variety. And they don't believe in, you know, going beyond the hits or beyond the more well-known bands. Like, they're not going to play any, deep cuts from any bands, like I was saying before about The Who. They're not going to play any deep cuts. That's just straight up stupid. If you're really passionate about the style and about these bands, you'd go beyond the hits. That's why I like to listen to full albums generally from bands. Like some supporting evidence, I have a radio show here at college. It's not a classic rock station, but it's a radio show. And I'm going to read off my list of songs I'm going to be playing on my next show. Okay? Mean Streak by Y&T, Cigarro by System of a Down, Call Me by Blondie, In a Big Country by Big Country, Fallen by De La Soul, Winner Takes It All by Sammy Hagar, Linger by the Cranberries, Violent Demise by Body Count, More Than a Man by Stryper, Real Motherfucking G's by Eazy-E, and Rockin' with the Radio by Blue Tears. See what I'm doing? Just going beyond the hits, just going in a random shuffle. That's what I did to put that list together. Just randomized and just feeling awesome like that. That's what I specialize in my radio show, and that's what I like it when radio stations do. And even if you're a classic rock station, play more than just the hits. People get really fucking tired of the hits. I mean, for fuck's sake. Like Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss, that song got old for me so quickly. And speaking of Kiss, what's stopping them from playing anything of theirs from the 80s? What's stopping them from playing Creatures of the Night, my favorite song by Kiss? Or, Reason to Live, my favorite ballad of Kiss's. Or even fucking God Gave Rock and Roll to You. What's stopping them from playing those? They're good songs, at least in my opinion. Another thing this particular station does that really just kind of pissed me off. Again, I don't remember what the name of the station is. If there's anybody from San Francisco who knows of any satellite classic rock stations who would be able to tell me what it's called or anything like that, please let me know. But what this station does that really just kind of, rubbed me the wrong way, the DJs, they are some of the douchiest people I've ever listened to. Every now and then, I've heard like 4 that I remember. They do these lame-ass fucking parodies of these songs. These really just unfunny parodies. They're like Weird Al wannabes. Like they did a parody of Sexy Back by Justin Timberlake. While I don't really like that song that much, it was still a really just lame, unfunny parody. They also parodied Photograph by Nickelback. I didn't think that was particularly funny either. Again, all these qualms with Nickelback. But what really just, made these people seem like total douchebags are that they parodied My Sharona by The Knack and Sister Christian by Night Ranger. 2 songs that I think fit perfectly with the classic rock environment. In sound and in, time period. I mean, Night Ranger, they have so many more great songs beyond fucking Sister Christian. Like, what is the problem with that song? I know it's not their best, but why parody it? And My Sharona by The Knack, you cannot deny that guitar solo. That is a great fucking guitar solo. And you're just gonna fucking, bash on that song? What the hell is your problem? Classic rock radio is just really boring and predictable. And that's really my main argument. It's the problem I've always had with classic rock radio. I'll certainly listen to it ahead of many other radio stations, particularly, your hit radio stations. But, if anything, if I'm going to be listening to radio at all, I'm either going to be listening to one of 3 of these XM stations. Boneyard, Hair Nation, or Octane. Those are my 3 favorite things to hear on the radio. Whenever I'm driving with my uncle, we listen to those stations, and they're just fun to listen to. So that sums up this video. Tell me about classic rock radio stations in your area. What do they play? Do they do anything differently? Do they actually stick out? Do they play deep cuts? Do they go obscure? Tell me if they do anything differently, because I'm really curious. As a person who is very interested in radio, just let me know what it's like with you, and I will see you later. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time.